wrong. And welcome to the Theatre of the Mind. It's live 235 for a Wednesday evening. Where has the week gone? We'll get into the parish notes in just a moment, but I have a massive announcement at 8 o'clock this evening. Well, in my view, it's massive. I'd like to say thank you to Stu Sydenham, simply because, well, the announcement is going to be breathtaking, darling. Breathtaking. So I couldn't be happier today. I've had such a fantastic day simply because of Stu's kindness and just wait till 8 o'clock and we'll get there and I'll tell you and you'll be like, holy Jesus, Rev. Yeah, exactly. And all I'm going to say in the lead up to that announcement at 8 o'clock, massive announcement, is when I say things to you, I always say it from truth. That's why I do and present the sermon from the pulpit of truth. So I don't flim-flam. There's no need for me to lie. So now I have some corroboration that's going to take your breath away. But I'll announce that at 8 o'clock. Yeah, wrong. So the parish notes this evening. I'm not quite sure where Sister Mary's gone to. I hear there's rumours that the Archbishop has heard about Sister Mary's growler. Simply because, I got word, I can't quite work it out, but I got word from one of the choir boys. He said that the Archbishop wants to get hold of Sister Mary's dick. And I was, really? What do you mean by that? He said, I don't know, the Archbishop just said something about a big good dog and getting hold of her dick. I said, well, she's probably in the vegetable patch, tending her vegetables. That's no way to speak about the other nuns, Reverend, but she's disappeared, and so's the Archbishop. So I've no idea what they're doing or what they're up to, and there's no patter of little feet around the body of the kirk this evening. So please welcome. Cough's getting better. So welcome to the body of the kirk. Remember that the Starmers, or the pews, the reason why we call them the Starmers is because they're a little hard on your derriere. We have some piles cushions, which will help, which are quite comforting, so I'm told. And the altar wine, there's bottles of it. Sister Mary brought a whole crate of it in this afternoon. It looks a slightly different colour, so I'm hoping that it is worthwhile. And don't forget the Battenberg. Cough's getting better, so I'm told. Des Ashton says, oh, good day, every one of the wrong-uns. The Rev is really on fire. Let's hope he gets a grip of that cough. And don't forget the Battenberg. It will fragrance the body burps when we want to go faster. Everybody's cottoning on to that meteor that isn't a meteor, and now they're saying, oh, there might be more of them. I mean, come on. They've just taken War of the Worlds and gone, here, shall we scare them and tell them that aliens are coming? Well, we know aliens are already here. When was the last time you looked at Sir Keir Starmer? He's got the personality of a wooden marionette. I didn't see PMQs today. Did Kemi get stuck into him? Did Kemi bend him over and go, strap on, Keir? Paulie Galtieri, good evening, Adrian. You utter wrong and hope you've had a good day. It's been fabulous today, Paulie. It's been fabulous. Lots going on in the background, of course. None of which I can bring here yet. But there is stuff happening, and as I say, this thing that I'm going to announce at 8 o'clock this evening, I couldn't be happier. To be fair, I couldn't be happier because it just brings into context. It'll just bring things into context. That's all I'm going to say. No clues, no hints, no nothing. You'll just have to wait till 8 o'clock. So welcome to everyone in the body of the kirk. Stuart's in the body of the kirk this evening. Evening, Stuart. Evening, Adrian. Hope your cough is on the mend. Just a thought. Could the double hibiscus be causing the cough? Because I noticed when you had just one, you weren't coughing as much. Ooh. You see, you're all very good detectives. I'm double bagging this evening. And it looks very, a dark red, very reminiscent of a warm Chateau Neuf de Pape. Oh, it's just getting to that Goldilocks temperature. Not too hot, not too cold. Woof. So welcome, Stuart. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. And Fatal Racing Driver. Hello. Hello. We like brevity. Fatal Racing Driver. Neil Cunningham. Good evening, wonderful people of the Kirk. Hope everyone is well. Oh, I think we're canny tonight, Neil. Cuban Pete says, Mandelson. I know. Poor Mandy. Prince of Darkness. We're going to talk about him tonight because he's deep in the doo-doo. So welcome, Cuban Pete and Les Griffiths, and I see you, Cuban Pete. What is it with these middle-aged, middle-class men? Any holes a goal, I think is the term. TMG, good evening all. Mandy is knee deep. Knee deep. Great tune by Funkadelic. Knee deep. I mean, proper funky. But I think you'll find that TMG, Mandy Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, is nipple deep in the doo-doo. He'll leave. He'll be... well, we're not going to sack him. You can't sack him. We're not going to sack him. He's just... is he going to ride the storm? Is that a rent boy, by any chance? Grinder? Anyone? Oi. So welcome to everyone so far. Kaz987, welcome Kaz. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Conversation. Oh, Tocker 69's in early doors. Blimey, Tocker 69, what's going on? Evening, Adrian and all you utter wrong-uns of the Kirk. Andrew James says, how many Labour MPs and peers can touch their toes? All of them, Andrew James. All of them. And that includes the females, because they don't know what a female is in the Labour Party. I will tell you that we're going to do a deeper dive into Labour and the Fabian Society tonight. I literally haven't had chance because of other things like my real life, or kind of offline, not online, offline, my real life. So I haven't had much chance today, and I did promise that I would do a Fabian Society deep dive, and it's my own take on it. Oi. They're bloody devil-worshipping PDFs. I'm going to tell you more later, and I'm not holding back either. And thank you to the anonymous emailer who gave me a fantastic list of Fabian Society members. Talking about members, Mandy Mandelson's in the shite. Oh, can you see? The cough's calmed down. It's definitely not the hibiscus. And oh, can I just say something? I found out today from someone who I love dearly. They said, did the doctor tell you about diabetes and steroids? No. So seemingly, diabetics, you shouldn't be taking steroids because it causes the diabetes to flare up. So if I keel over tonight, dead, in front of the camera, what a way to go. Stiff, on camera. My kind of film. You know. So if you hear a thud, it's just me and the steroids and the diabetes. I see you, says to Neil Cunningham. I see you. My worst nightmare lives in number 10 Downing Street. Does his wife, though? Or does he live at Lord Ali's gaff? And I see you, says the man is made of tin, no heart. Yeah, we can all corroborate that, that's for sure. Where are we? Oh, another 5 minutes. Alison says, evening all. Here you wrong-uns. Hit them likes on the way in. Yeah, you wrong-uns. God, tough audience. I'm doing this for free for you. So, oh, where's me? Yeah, there it is. There. This is the adrenaline. So I haven't coughed, mind you. I haven't spoken to many people this afternoon. But it's the adrenaline. When the adrenaline hits your lungs, as I have elucidated many times, when the adrenaline hits your lungs, it causes a cough. So, Alison, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Welcome. David Graham, evening all from here at a very wet and windy Sunderland. Is it anything else other, David? Forecast says showers for the next few hours. Great, eh? Well, I don't know about the body of the Kirk, but I quite like a thunderstorm. I mean, when I was in the Peruvian Amazon jungle, there were a couple of thunderstorms, and I've heard nothing like it. I mean, those South American thunderstorms are to be experienced. And Costa Rican or Peruvian or the thunderstorms are magnificent. But it's like here in Blighty, we just get a thunderstorm. And there was a radio station a long time ago, about 10 years ago, that just played thunderstorms. How they made their money, I'll never know. They didn't have presenters, they just had thunderstorms. So I quite like thunderstorms. In fact, I would go out and stand in the garden with a 3-iron, a 1-iron, and hold it up to the gods. Because, do you know something? Even God can't hit a 1-iron. That's for all the golfers in the body of the Kirk. Thunderstorm in Liverpool, according to Neil Cunningham. David Graham, not bad for late summer. Yeah, it's like in Scotland. I lived in Scotland for 10 years, and every summer it was a day in June. That was it. But, God, I loved Scotland, genuinely. And Wales. I think I just like the rain, just like the cold. Maybe I should move to Iceland. Has the Reverend gone to Iceland? No, he shops at Lidl. Okay, thank you for that. I heard thunderstorms were predicted around the UK, says David. And Terry Wuckfit, Laird Wuckfit's in the body of the Kirk. Not only good for the plants, will also help out the water companies. Someone once said every little helps. Yeah, ding, ding. Tap their arse. We're back to the Pink Palace in London, the Ozempic Palace. And for all those coming into the body of the Kirk, because everybody's getting their feet under the Starmers. What do you mean, what are the Starmers? They're the pews, because they're hard on your derriere. Andrew James says, what does Peter Mandelson and Starmer in the shower? Oh, what do you mean? Listen to in the shower. So Many Men, So Little Time by Michael Brown. Look, I'm so old, I remember playing Michael Brown, So Many Men, So Little Time, in the nightclubs, first time round. Cool, blimey, all those days. Honestly, I miss playing shit in nightclubs. It was wonderful. Mike's Alligator says, hi Adrian, I hope you're okay. I've not long finished setting up my blinds in the bedroom to Alexa. She been nagging you to get the job done? Because, you know, women complain that they ask men to do a job and it takes them 3 years just to decide to do it. So, welcome, Mike's Alligators. Welcome to the body of the Kirk, sir. Louise Hampson, GB News as well. How about to stop the boats? They're not going to. They're not going to. Stuart says, I do love the sound of thunder. Lauren Taylor, Mandelson has always given me the creeps. Subhuman, overprivileged manipulator. That's why he's called the Prince of Darkness. Welcome, Lauren Taylor, to the body of the Kirk. Lionel Leighton unrehearsed. We had a rumble this morning and it's raining. Oh, nice one. Look at you, Lionel. I hope you didn't do it in public. You can get arrested for that. Somebody's going to complain. Probably I see. You're going to complain that I'm talking too fast tonight. Again, that's the adrenaline. I will enunciate my words very carefully, and I'll slow down. It's an age thing. Des Ashton says, typhoons in the South China Sea were some thunderstorms. Oy, oy, oy. Yeah, they always get the exotica, don't they? Like Far East and Far West. Well, South America. They do get proper thunderstorms. But you don't want to be on your holidays and get thunderstorms. You just want sunshine, really. I've been looking into the Fabian Society, says I see you. It's all new to me. An evil club, in my opinion. Wait till you hear what I've got to say later on. I'm proper going for it tonight, I'm telling you. My Alexa always nags me. Get it to speak Welsh. Oh, what was the gag? I can't. It was so long ago when we did it, when we had the play with Alexa. I love the sound of breaking glass, especially when I'm down. I love the sound of breaking glass. Nick Lowe? Yeah, Nick Lowe. And the band that he and Dave Edmonds were in, I can't remember the name of the band, but they were proper talented boys. David Graham, watching Daubney and Co. on GB News today, and it had on two lads from Birmingham putting loads of UK flags on every lamppost for miles. Brilliant stuff. I will say that that where I live is very quaint, and you know, very gentle people live round here, and the flags are going on the flag posts. I mean, everybody's at it. I love it. Why can't we do that? Why can't we have some pride in our country? without poking that particular bear. Stuart says, I would love to see your reaction to asking Alexa what a seal pushed me forward in French is. Alexa! Oi! Wrong un! Alexa! Oh, Jesus. Do I have to tell it I love it before it'll do anything? Alexa! Oi! Wrong un! I probably switched it off, thinking she's listening to me and she's going to dob me in to somebody. Andy Turner, that was it. Coffee beans. Coffee beans 100 in Welsh. That was it. So, yeah. Broken Glass, wasn't that Debbie Harry? Breaking Glass, that was... Yeah, she did have a song called Breaking Glass. It was it a green cover with her on the front? It was after she... It was kind of solo stuff, but no. I love the sound of Breaking Glass. I'm sure... Was it Nick Lowe or was it Dave Edmonds? I'm sure it was Nick Lowe. Oh, Soul Rebel, Rock Pile, that was their band. Yeah, they were a bit tasty as well. A bit like Rock Pile were around the same time as Dr. Feelgood, and I was a proper Dr. Feelgood fan. Dr. Feelgood, Milk and Alcohol, and Down at the Docklers, where I was yesterday. Coffee Beans 100 in Welsh is Far Coffee Cant, says Stuart. See, I can speak. I'm multilingual, me. I'm bilingual. Lingual. So I can speak a little bit of Welsh. Pwy'wch tad nawr te. Oh's your daddy now then. I can speak a bit of Scottish. What's the hang on? What's the Welsh? Tush Dame Bob Sice. So the Welsh are laughing now, and the English are going, "What the bloody is he coughing?" No, Tush Dame Bob Sice means arseholes to Englishmen. So if you ever meet anybody from Wales and they go Tush Dame Bob Tush Dean Bob Sice, and you think, oh, I say, is that a quaint welcome to Wales? No, it means arseholes to all Englishmen. And I remember saying I worked with someone who was slightly Welsh and could speak Welsh, and I said to her one day, yeah, Tush Dame Bob Sice, and she went, you can't say that in here. I said, oh, I think you find I can, because nobody knows what it means. Annie Lennox was walking on broken glass, as she was, Spencer Davies. Hazel O'Connor, bloody hell, yeah. Oh, of course, from the film. Thank you, Soul Rebel. Nick Lowe, Yakida, says David Graham. Stuart says, do you remember when I asked you to ask Alexa what's the best way to eat a popsicle? Your reaction was funnier than what she said. I can't remember, Stuart. I mean, we're up to live 235, but I hope it was entertaining of some kind. Walkfit, Nick Lowe did indeed sing Breaking Glass, but prefer Hazel O'Connor's and Debbie Harry, and Blondie did Heart of Glass. Oh, another Heart of Glass. Oh, I'm up against very, very well-versed individuals in the body of the Kirk this evening. Derek Tomlinson, wasn't Breaking Glass Hazel O'Connor? I think Phil Daniels was in it. Oh, Phil Daniels, yeah, he was in the film as he was in... oh, man, come on, Adrian. It was right there on my tip of my tongue until I wanted to go and say it. The Mods with Sting. Quadrophenia, the film. Fabulous, fabulous. TMG, I used to see Wilco Johnson in a place called The Standard in Walthamstow. He was superb. Still kicking and flinging is old Wilco. Was he in... Dr. Feelgood? Was he the guitarist or the bassist? Can't remember. Quadrophenia, did you get the email of my painting, Adrian? Fatal Racing Driver. You talented individual. I mean, that was... So, as long as you don't mind me talking out of school, Fatal Racing Driver. Fatal Racing Driver said in the comments yesterday, I want to send you something. So I was like, yeah, no problem, just send me on the email. Fatal Racing Driver is a talented artist, a very, very, very talented artist, and sent me a picture of Adam Ant, and I was blown away. Fatal Racing Driver, that is superb, if I may be so bold. So I'm blown away. Yes, I did get your email. Yes, I did get your painting, Fatal Racing Driver, and in my humble opinion, it was superb. Thank you for letting me see it. David Bowie, Breaking Glass. Oh, another one. Was that not Spiders from Mars? So thank you, Fatal Racing Driver. We are the mods. We are the mods. We are the mods. Adam Well. TMG. I was there. Biggest open market in the UK at the time. Lots of Jamaica food. Jamaica? No, she did it of her own volition. David Graham, try to pronounce the longest Welsh name. No. I'm not going anywhere near that one, David. No, I can't. I can barely speak English, let alone that. No, Rusty Roamings. Hang on a second. Sadly, Wilco Johnson has died. Can somebody corroborate that? That'll knock my pluffer in. Oh, man. Soul Rebels just said that. I know he had cancer, and I know he kind of did the sort of farewell tour, but even as recently as a few weeks ago, I'm sure he was still kicking and flinging. Is it true? Oh, man. Fatal Racing Driver, I do art for the joy of it, and if I may, again, be so bold, Fatal Racing Driver, that painting was joyous. Adamant in his pomp, just beautiful. Fatal Racing Driver, amazing. And I envy your talent, because I'd always wanted to be somebody who could create art. Mine's just a load of bollocks, but I just wish I could see something and draw it. I've never, ever had a similar talent to yourself, Fatal Racing Driver. Simply joyous. Oh, man. Evening, Rev, and one and all. I'm running about 20 minutes behind on catch-up. Andy B, you'll get this in 20 minutes. We've got a big announcement at 8 o'clock, so I'd fast-forward if I was you. Right. What? Died November 2022. Do you know? I swear, a couple of weeks ago. Stephen King, you're wrong, and get in quick before all the pews get taken up. Well, that's kind of knocked my pluffer in. He was such a character. And Dr. Feelgood, Lee Brier on vocals, one of just good old-fashioned, no-nonsense, mindless boogie. Oh, man. The Mandela Effect is real. What are you saying, Dale? Nick Lowe from The Old Bovril, A-side. I like the sound of breaking glass. B-side. I like the sound of breaking wind. Bless you, The Old Bovril. It's an age thing. But never trust one. Never, ever trust one. Because you'll end up touching cloth one day in public thinking, oh dear, I need to smuggle this one home. Mike's Alligators. Where you been, man, Adrian? I thought he'd survived the cancer. And I thought he was... I can't believe I'm 3 years out of date. Jeez, oh. I see you. Phil, I'd love to see your art. Maybe Adrian can set up a community member site. Ooh. Hang on. Soul Rebel, what you said about Paul Weller, surely he hasn't popped it as well, man, has he? Love the Wilco strut. Brilliant. Oh, yeah. Paul Weller was a big fan. Yeah. I just... Wilco looked a bit raged on stage, and the Wilco strut was... it was just fantastic. I could have been the ticket man at Fulham Railway Station. Which song is that from? Ian Jury, What a Waste, Stephen Hull. There you go. I'm not... David Graham says, B.A. Robertson had a good hit called Bang Bang in 1979, and I first heard that song on Radio Luxembourg. It kind of faded in and out, but 1979, and Luxembourg were playing it like 6 months ahead. And I went to my local youth club and I said, oh, here, so it's going to be a fabulous song soon. B.A. Robertson, Scots, Bang Bang. And they were like, what on earth are you talking about? And then 6 months later, it was in the top 10. Cool in the Caftan. Was that B.A. Robertson as well? Not as good as Bang Bang. Fixtech says the last 5 years have been a bit of a blur. Oh, I completely agree with you. So shall we get to the sermon? Simon? Where are we? That's that. So tonight, got the big announcement at 8 o'clock, or as close to 8 o'clock as I can make it. And please, if you're coming into the body of the Kirk, smash the likes on the way in while you're obviously still awake and at it. Once the G&T start kicking in, you'll forget. So the sermon this evening, big announcement at 8 o'clock. I am going to do a deep dive on the Fabian Society, because actually they're running the world. Fauci is in the doo-doo. I mean, proper. You think that Mandy Mandelson is in the doo-doo. Fauci, Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, is proper in the brown stuff. Ed Sheeran, he's foxtrot Oscaring. He's fecking off. He's not staying. Oh, deep joy. All we've got to do is make sure Taylor Swift doesn't come back to this country. We're going to talk about the Prince of Darkness because, well, he's up to his nipples in the brown stuff. I'm hearing on the jungle drums that Ponce Harry has been seen going into Clarence house. And, Charles the Weak has been seen going into Clarence house. What is going on in that family? I mean, it's like a bloody soap opera. Bloody thing. It's like a bloody soap opera. You can't make this shit up. And oh, Keir Starmer. Questions? Questions? Hang on, what's Vic's text saying? Texas. Nice place to go hunting. I heard a rumour that B.A. Robertson wasn't a very nice man, according to some people. David, well, you know, the Scots, they're pretty dour, the Scots. But I just laughed. Because if anybody is not a very nice person to me, I just call them out straight away to their face. Oi, Roman, you talking to me? So would you like your breakfast shoved up your arse? Because that's how you're going to have to eat it after I've shoved your teeth down your throat. And they soon back off. David Graham, Andrew James. Probably why he's broke, upset the wrong people. I don't think he did many tours either. Shame, because his songs are not really played on the radio anymore, so he's not going to get that much from royalties. Oh, what's the bloody point, says Enigma. Breathe. Just breathe and enjoy the process. So Rebel. All been kicking off in London. The Herzog visit, kicking off in France. It's like that record by Pop Music. And did you know that Pop Music, did it not have a double groove? Or was the 12-inch, it kind of just kept getting to the backstop. The groove ran all the way out. They were pretty clever back in the 70s in Pop Music. I've got the original 12-inch. Not that I'm bragging at all, but yeah, Stephen Hall says, I remember another B.A. Robertson song, Knocked It Off. Yeah, not as good as Bang Bang, though. Bang Bang was his opus magnus. Unfortunately, Sheeran isn't moving permanently to the US. It's only for the US-Mexican-Canada leg of his tour. Oh, Terry, you know how to upset me now. I was really happy that he was fecking off and staying over there. And now he's coming back. Can we not just stop him? Yeah, you ruined me night. You're wrong. So we're gonna. Should we get into it? Because this announcement at 8 o'clock, it's kind of. I'm crap with surprises. I want people to be excited by the surprise, and then I just let the whole cat out of the bag, and then it's not a surprise, and they go, "Oh, you can't keep a secret, you can you?" No, I'm shite. But this 8 o'clock announcement, I am so stoked, I think is the American word, stoked. And thank you, Stu. Stu knows what it is, but I will let you know at 8 o'clock tonight, and it validates and vindicates some of the things that I've been talking about on this channel. Let me tell you, it's massive. So Anthony Fauci, you know, the spawn of the devil in my house. He's in the shite. There's been some emails that have been released today, like this afternoon, and they show that Anthony Fauci directed colleagues to, and I quote, delete this after you've read it. Oh, there's nothing like delete this after you've read it to mask guilt. So these were back in February 2020. You remember February 2020? Because March 2020, we went into lockdown just to flatten the curve, and for the next 5 or 6 weeks, 2 years. But seemingly, Anthony Fauci lied under oath. Oh, my sir. Do America have perjury in their committee meetings and courts? And it was under oath. Swear on that book. I can't. I worship the devil. Well, you're going to have to. So, to he or she or it, moreover, that has to be obeyed. Right, okay, so he's denied it under oath, and then this emails come out, where it delete this after you've read it. Crimes against humanity, anyone? As I said last night, Putin has said to the Donald, give us Anthony Fauci as part of the peace deal for Ukraine. Crimes against humanity. Oh, I say, Dr. Fauci. You should have become a proctologist, the amount of shite that's going to come your way. I'll wait for you, if you know what a proctologist is. So these emails are now public. I mean, there isn't anything on the telly that's more entertaining than this, in my view, simply because we know what we went through between 20 and 22. We know what they were telling us, lies. We know that the blonde one, the clown, Bojo, he was sitting there just taking the proverbial pish, as were some of the other head honchos, including all of the head honchos, because they were having curries and beers, Starmer. They were having, I still can't quite work out what form of Hinduism or what flavour of Muslim cockeyed is. Because I thought they didn't drink alcohol, but he did. I had a couple of beers. It was a work party. Aye, right. Had a end shite. So the Committee for Homeland Security and Government Affairs have said, oh, look at this. Look at this. These emails are now in the public domain, Dr. Fauci. And you swore under oath, delete this after you've read it. Oh, my Lord. It's going to make Nuremberg look like a clown show. And have you heard about Putin telling everybody, oh, by the way, there weren't our drones. There weren't Russian drones. And Poland's like, how do we and shite, man? They were definitely yours. They came over our borders and came into our airspace. And Putin's gone, wasn't ours. Was it the CIA? Anyone? Who was it? Ukraine? Sniffy? Doesn't want the war to end. The war ends. He's either got to go to his pile, his hotels, plural, in Eilat. What's Sniffy going to do other than enjoy his Coca-Cola? Andrew James says, Stuart, have you noticed there is only Ren, Youngblood, Sabrina, Sheeran and Swifty in the big names in music? Youngblood is a Nepo baby and no doubt Ren is also. That's not bonking Boris, I know. Enigma. He's a boy. Boris is definitely a shagger. And likes to earn money, seemingly. Lots of millions. So it's all a disgusting sham, says I see you. And Eric Connolly says, didn't Trump give Fauci a pardon? No, it was President Poopy Pants. You know, Biden, shit his pants. Jill, oh, Joe, have you dropped one? It stinks round here. Sorry, darling. I haven't got my incontinence pants on today. Come with me. We'll change your trousers. They're looking awfully brown. No, it was Biden with an auto pen, seemingly. And it wasn't Biden that signed it. It was probably Balak. But then again, he would want deniability. So they'll have gotten somebody else to do it. So that Balak went, oh, want me, governor. No, want me. What do they say? The emails, says Amalia. It'll have to be the live on Sunday, Amalia. Sorry, I haven't made notes about that. Yeah, Sabrina's new album. I said last night on the live that the women in pop music, or not music in general, but pop music, they've all got to get their kit off. They're all walking around in stockings and suspenders. And women turn around and say, oh, no, what are you staring at? You're staring at my, you can't stare at those. And they've got next to nout on. And they think that's talent, wearing stockings and suspenders. Was it Sabrina Carpenter or whatever her name is? She's only about 3'6". And it'll be the producers and the musicians that are making the music. She's no Beatles or Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin, is she? No. But for the kids who think Swifty is like a god, no, it's not for me. So, and that's just the men. Yeah, I'm not. Shall we? We'll talk about proper music in just a little while. So Fauci's in the doo-doo. Ed Sheeran, as we are discussing, he's legging it to live in the USA. Laird walk fits upset me now. Hang on. Shot fired at US conservative activist Charlie Kirk's event in Utah. Well, the Democrats don't like it, do they? They don't like it up them because politics is finished. It's over and done with. The public are having their eyes opened to the evil that is left-wing politics. Now, I'm not suggesting that right-wing politics, because apart from the members of the body of the Kirk in this particular parish, who are critical thinkers, all the other, well, non-critical thinkers have no clue that it's just that's there to give you a hope of democracy. It's just there to tell you, well, you can vote left or right, you can vote red or blue, you can have up or down, you can have Democrat or Republican or Labour and the Tories. I mean, there used to be a time when there was loads of different colours and hues of politicians in this country, and we used to laugh at America. You've only got two parties, and then over the last, I don't know, since Blair got into power in 1997, which is why I'm going to do the Fabian Society tonight. And can I be bold about this? It is I've other YouTubers have done kind of stuff on now that the Fabian Society is becoming a thing and it's becoming it's under scrutiny. It's only when you have the eyes to see it and knowledge that you'll know what some of the names within the Fabian Society actually mean and the background to it. Because people are going, oh, H.G. Wells and George Bernard Shaw and others and Brown and Blair. But when you actually look at some of the originators, the Fabian Society, Theosophy, occult worshippers, anyone? I will explain, don't worry. Because nobody else has said this. I don't understand why. If you're going to do it properly, for fuck's sake. If you don't know who Madame Blavatsky is and Annie Besant is, I mean, get a fucking education. I've got Annie Besant books. I've got books about and on and by Madame Blavatsky because it's good to have an education. So, Ed Sheeran, namby-pamby pinko liberal. Why doesn't he foxtrot Oscar and how do we end shite? Hopefully. But then Laird Wookfit goes and bloody spoils it. Yeah, tart. Hang on a second. Let's do this. I'm going to win the lottery in 10 minutes. I'll remember you all. I see you. Right, if I see you wins the lottery, we're all going round to his for a proper live and we'll have a party. Enigma. What would Margaret Thatcher say to Keir Starmer? Hello, Keir. What's that you've got in your hand? Really? Lord Ali's? KY? Keir, haven't you heard of Crisco fat? I'm giving you an education tonight. I watched the Ike son on Fabian. Interesting old footage. I see you. There is another society influencing government. The society name begins with an F. Oh, I am going to tell you about that particular school this evening because the Fabian Society is just a front. It's not the actual. Because like anything in today's world, you have kind of the front, and then the real elite are in the shadows in another organisation, and I am going to name that organisation this evening. So if you don't hear from me again, you know that the bad people have cut me brake pipes. Totley69 said the Fabian Society only came to the spotlight since the Epping Hotel court case. The judge is one of them, and he's a member of the Fabian Society. Yeah, Alan said she would give him a good handbagging, but I think that there is an apocryphal story of somebody actually goosing Thatcher in number 10 when they were lining up for a photograph. Theo Bovril. No, I meant it begins with an R. Sorry. the Bullingdon Pigs Head Club. Yeah, the Pig Shaggers, Alan. No, not them. No. They're just kind of little boys playing at being actually powerful men, and they're not. Amalia Grassi says, subspecies, what, Starmer? Oh, absolutely. The Rosicrucians? No, Soul Rebel, it's not the Rosicrucians. Be great if you could find your Ike interview from the BBC. 4 minutes to 8. Stephen, I want the lottery numbers from you for the weekend. So the big announcement this evening, and I have to thank Stu Sydenham for this. I interviewed David Icke in 2006 on the BBC, and it's one of my late night phone in on BBC Radio Cleveland. The figures were the best they've ever been for that radio station in its history. It's now BBC Radio Tees. Partly because I was getting very interesting guests on. I was getting interesting people on. And one of them was David Icke. So, there's going to be a premiere on this channel. We have found, Stu Sydenham has found my interview with David Icke from 2006. And the wonderful thing about presenting these lives and all the stuff that I do here is the validation. I'm not Johnny Big Bollocks. I don't name drop as such, and I don't do it for any validation or kind of, any spotlight. I'm much more shy about what I've done and where I've been in the media. I don't play it up, but Stu has found the David Icke interview, which I thought was long lost. I mean, you're talking 20 years ago. Long lost. And I believe that one of Malia Grassi, it's blown me away. The last 24 hours, blown me away by Stu's kindness. And it's been created into a video, and we're going to premiere it on this channel. It's only an hour long. I'm absolutely positive we did 2 hours with David Icke. And I'm going to contact David again. As I say, I've got all of his personal contacts. I'm going to contact David again because it would be nice to... some of the stuff in the interview is... So it's 20 years ago, and he was predicting ahead of the game. So what he says in this interview, some of it is kind of visionary. And we are... Don Wigley, what's your view on the Bullingdon Club? Have you seen the film? I don't have to what? The pig shagging film. The Bullingdon Club, it's just rich boys playing it, being of any kind of relevance. No, I haven't seen the film. Don Wigley, if you've got a copy, ping it over. So the David Icke interview has been found. Not by me, but a very kind gentleman called Stu Sydenham. And we are going to premiere it. And as I say, it will be lovely to kind of do a then and now. Because there's this in the last 20 years, this was 2006, so it was shortly after 9/11. And because it was the BBC, we had to be very careful, very, very careful of... thank you, Chris. Had to be very careful about what we said. And David was a fantastic interviewee. I mean, of course, he knows so much. But in 2006, he wasn't getting the coverage that he is now or has recently since lockdown. And I was one of the few people that gave him a platform. And I think that's why they didn't renew my contract at the BBC. I mean, if you don't get your contract renewed, basically they're sacking you. And I loved doing the interview. He was very gracious and he was very knowledgeable. And if you think about it, the Black Swan event of 9/11, 2001, it was only 5 years. So the relevance of you and I talking now, 5 years ago would have been lockdown. And that doesn't feel like 2 minutes ago, does it? So David did the interview with me on BBC Radio Cleveland, and Stu's managed to capture an hour of it, the main part of it. Stuart, Adrian, Rev, can you give Piers Morgan some tips on how to be a better interviewer? No, I'd have to be fucking evil to do that. Because remember, Piers Morgan was the guy, the editor of the Daily Mirror, that mocked up photographs of seemingly our squaddies peeing on detainees from Iraq. That's Piers Morgan. Conveniently, he doesn't want anybody to remember, but I've got a memory like an elephant. So yeah, Stuart, it would be lovely. Right, Piers, sit down, mate. Let me show you how to go on. Stop hectoring people. Give them a chance to say something, because actually, people are tuning in not for you, you fat-tongued twat. Actually, they want to hear the guest, and I think that's where Rogan wins, because it's not about Rogan, and Joe Rogan's stuff is edited to within an inch of its life. I can tell. Neil Cunningham shows BBC mentality. Don't renew the contract of a ratings winner. Absolutely. Spencer Davies. Okay, it's 8 p.m. time for the big news. Yeah, Robin. So I'm blown away by Stu finding it. It's 57 minutes long, so it's a good little hour if you're walking the dogs or doing whatever. But please, it's probably going to be uploaded on Sunday. I want to tease it over the next few days. And Piers Morgan trolled Paul McCartney. Oh, he's just a nasty old tart, man. Thank you, Vix Tex. And it'll be on Sunday, and we'll clip and we'll do some promos, so you can see it's genuine, and it's just fantastic. I'm so blown away by it. I thought it had been lost in the mists of time, and it was. I didn't have a copy of it, although I don't know whether it was Stu or somebody else said, do you mind if we use this and put it online? And I said, yeah, do whatever you want with it. That must have been also 20 years ago, 2007, 2008. Yeah. Walk fit, you tart. Vix Tex, nasty old tart. Well, yeah, the technical term that we use on radio. Louise Hampson saying, University in Utah, person being shot. That's the Charlie Kirk. Don't know whether it's Charlie Kirk that's being shot, but Charlie tends to, he's a Trump supporter and a little bit right-wing, and he goes out to campuses and just, argues with students, and students invariably are not very well informed. Students are not the brightest. Full of ego, and it's all about them, but it was on Daily Motion of all places, unfortunately. Only the first hour, but I'll do some digging. Oh, Stuart! Oh, you're in the body of the Kirk tonight. Brilliant. It was on Daily Motion of all places. I don't know what that is, Stuart. So if you didn't contact me, Stuart, it was somebody else got in touch and said, can we put your interview with David Icke, can we put it online? And I said, yeah, sure, not a problem with that, just to give David some more coverage. But Stuart, thank you. Personally, thank you for doing that digging and coming up with it. As I say, I thought it was all gone. I thought I would never hear it again. And that's why I mentioned it on some of these lives and on the channel over the last 3 years, because I was quite proud of the interview. And those that saw my interview with Janet Percival on Sunday will know that I love doing a good interview. And I did prep. Just as a little aside, sorry, Stuart. Andy B says, I heard you say yesterday that Christine Prince passed away. Like you, I met Tony and Christine so many times through DMC in the London Hippodrome. Andy, I'm going to tell you a little story. I was there for the Disco Mix Club DMC with Christine and Tony in the very early days. And the very first, if you were there, Andy, the very first meeting we had at Stringfellows London Hippodrome, I mean, it was just breathtaking. So me and my crew got a train down, and then they had a Radio 1 forum with Johnny Beerling, and I think it was Steve Wright, Johnny Beerling, and a couple of other luminaries from Radio 1. And I used to work for a hospital radio station. I mean, we are talking a long, long time ago. And there were people there who wanted to get into professional commercial radio, or BBC. And so Johnny Beerling was sat there on this forum and said, look, I'm going to give you an example of what not to do in sending a demo tape or presenting radio shows. So the place went silent, and he said, look, if anybody is in here and this is you, I apologize, but I'm just using this as an example. And they played the tape, and it was one of the guys from my hospital radio station. So literally, you could hear a pin drop in the London Hippodrome, and I just went when he played the tape. I heard this guy's voice, recognized it immediately, and went, "Oh no!" And the whole of the Hippodrome turned and looked at me, thinking it was me on the tape. And I believe, although Steve Wright's not around to confirm this, I believe, he is, "Ha ha, yes indeedy." That came from that tape, because my old friend used to say, and it's a technical thing with radio. He used to take the fader playing the music down to the backstop so it was stopped, and then he'd open the mic. "Yes indeedy." That was, and then back announce it. And obviously he put it into that tape, and that's where Steve Wright got the "ha ha, yes indeedy" from. And there's me in the bloody Hippodrome going, "Oh no!" As everybody heard me, thinking, "Oh dear, he's in the audience." It wasn't me. It was just I knew who was on the who it was, and "ha ha, yes indeed," he was from that tape. Radio Anorak. Swish, 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 swish. Karina Jane says, "Oh, I've been to the Hippodrome, 1988. Well, Stringfellow, yeah, when did I do Liberty? Stringfellow came in to do an interview with me. That must have been 96, 97. Andrew James, LBC is far left now. It's like The Guardian on audiobook. Oh, I say. Is the Illuminati conspiracy the title? What my interview? Have you heard it? Steve Wright was the best for a few years. Then he turned into Get a Jab radio. Oh, was he one of those, was he? You're lucky to get that recording, Adrian. I asked the BBC for permission to put my shows up on YouTube, and they won't let me as they own the copyright. They go back to the early 80s. Interesting. Thank you for that. David Graham says, by the way, tomorrow marks the 24th anniversary since the 9/11 attacks in New York and DC. Remember it well, and it was scary. Yes, it was. Don Wigley, thank you. Is that the title of the film? I will do. I mean, 9/11 is its own subject by a country mile. I mean, there was so much confusion. There was so much going on with it. And I think we all, if we're old enough, I think we all have our own story of how we saw or how we heard. It's a bit like, where were you when JFK was assassinated? 9/11 was our modern day Black Swan event. And what I mean by a Black Swan event, it is that the world changed after that. The Black Swan event is a world changing event. It's not the same afterwards. And I was in the gym. I've said to this before. I was in Cardiff. I was working for Real Radio, and I was in David Lloyd's, the gym in Cardiff, or just outside Cardiff, and yeah, the Patriot Act, exactly, Vix Tex. So there was things that they brought in, and the Patriot Act was one of them. Homeland Security was one of them. So that Black Swan event brought a whole load of new laws, and lucky Larry Silverstein, I mean, made billions from it. Billions. And then his lawyers fought for, well, it was actually 2 attacks, 1 tower, and then the second tower. It wasn't 1 attack, it was 2 and he won. Was it about 4 billion? 4 billion, can you imagine? I'd have plastic surgery and feck off to South America, never to be seen again. Band again, could be like that next Saturday. And it's, sorry, I'm just thinking about some other stuff. And America has never been the same since. Never. Napoleon Bonaparte says, 1 month after 9/11, my daughter told me it was a conspiracy. The thing that alerted me was I was literally the second plane went into the second tower. And the first one was just a light aircraft's gone into one of the towers. It's a tragedy. The fire and emergency services are all on site trying to deal with it. Enigma. Irina Zarutska was the name of the lady who was killed on the subway. Nobody helped her. I know. But Enigma, do you blame nobody stepping up? The guy's just knifed a girl to death. How do you deal with that? Do you put your own life on the line? Everybody loves a hero, and everybody goes, that's sad, for a dead hero. And if you look at knife crime in this country, look at Southport. We had heroes in Southport. But 23-year-old. And I did say at the time that America is going to lose its mind over that, and that's been borne out over the last few days. David Graham, Ike's 9/11 book called The Trigger, and it's on Amazon, I think. There's Cuban Pete, Charlie Kirk has been shot in the neck, apparently. America's eating itself. They will not allow anyone to have any kind of opinion other than the democratic philosophy, so to speak. The U-Bottle said, I watched the second plane go in live via the American live news channel. And so I was just talking to the staff in David Lloyd, as I don't know who the live feed was. I don't know whether it was the BBC or ITV, but it literally, the second plane went in and I said, lads, got to go. What you're watching is the biggest historical event in your lifetime. And they were like, what are you talking about? I said, right, I'm going, I've got to go. And I went into Real Radio and I was sat there with all of the news feeds in the newsroom, just absorbing everything and making notes, so that when I went on air, President Trump confirms US conservative activist Charlie Kirk shot at student event. America's eating itself. Laird Wookfit, ginger bollocks, meets Chuck the Turd for tea. We're not going to be told the truth. We're not. William would be apoplectic because of Spare and chucking the royal family under the bus and just wanting to grift for money. And Charles the Weak, dear boy, yes, you're in the will. That's all he's after. Cashman. And he wants to be king, evidently. Him and what's-her-face, the yacht girl, they just want to be the American royal court. Well, you can have a wee and shite. Martin, if ever, obviously I'm doing this. Martin says, yes, he's been shot, but not sure if he's dead. Enigma, Osama bin Laden educated in UK. Wasn't he educated at Sandhurst? A bit like the Iraqi leader, Saddam Hussein. He was educated at Sandhurst. If they can get to be educated at Sandhurst. Interesting. Yeah, the project for the new American century. Yeah, I think from what I can remember, David Icke asked, so he was being interviewed by Terry Wogan, and he said to Terry Wogan, do you know about the project for the new American century? And you could see the blood drain from Terry Wogan's face. No, he says. Buckhouse has confirmed they met for tea. I just wish he'd, Mr. Oscar, he lives in America, man. Just had away. We didn't see your application for your visa. So obviously, evidently, there's stuff in there, shit in there that you, as in Ginger Sphericals, doesn't want the world to know. So back to 9/11. Band again says, I was in town 40 miles from home. I rushed home just and saw jump jets panicking, taking off from field miles from any airports. 9/11. Andrew James, that's... I wonder if the shooter is associated with BlackRock like Trump's shooter. Interesting. Neil Cunningham says, I think King Charles is on his last legs, and it's Harry's astounding shot at redemption and getting into the will. So let's get back to 9/11. So I got into the radio station, was watching all the news feeds. We had multiple TV sets going, and we had the news on the wire coming in. Literally, it was going mad. And there are... Alison says the shooter is an old geezer, white hair and glasses, and a bit baldy. Ooh. MK Ultra, anyone? Do you know about MK Ultra? There is kind of a new version of MK Ultra, but there's still people out there. So the suspect in the Kirk shooting is in custody. Oy, 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 oy. Catwoman Jones says, who is Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk is a... I don't want to kind of pigeonhole him, but he's a very erudite, very intelligent guy who just wants to speak truth. And he wants to speak truth to students. I mean, an old boy, grey hair, middle-aged Patsy, I see you. Yeah, very good. Yeah. As was the shooting of JFK. Dead men can't speak. Ooh, David Graham, very good point. Professor, perhaps? My mum was in work when the news about 9/11 broke. She rang my dad saying, switch the news on now, and that's how he found out. I see you. MK Ultra is still being refined. I mean, it's been around for 50 years? Oh, got to be 60 years. Yes, Mad Matt UK, you'll have to eat an extra slice of Battenberg for that. Good evening, Rev. Good evening, Rev. Apologies for being late on parade. Yeah, make sure your boots are polished. Just don't bend over in front of this lot. Probably the Patsy in custody, the real shooter. Des. See, I love the way that people think in the body of the Kirk, because you don't take what you're given. You just critically think around it and come up with some fantastic angles. Thank you, Des. I walked into the high street and saw a big crowd looking in a TV shop and went to look. It was 9/11, first tower hit. As I say, band again, it was the first plane going into the tower. It was supposedly a light aircraft that made a mistake. And the thing that alerted me, Terry Woodford, Charlie Kirk is a conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA. MK Ultra is defunct. It changed and renamed long before its name was revealed, splintered into a few different research and action projects. That's what I thought, Terry. I didn't think it was still around. They're calling it MK. It's not MK Ultra. It's MK something or other. So they've just splintered it off. But I'll do a bit of research before we get to Sunday. So I thought it was just a really sad event in New York where a plane had hit the towers, and it was so breathtaking initially. I just thought it was sad. Didn't know how many people were injured or dead or hurt, but just thought it was one of those things where a plane has gone off course and just MK Option. Thank you, Robbie. That's the one I was looking for. MK Option. It's not MK Ultra. It's MK Option, the main one that's taken over from Ultra. And what alerted me was, and I've said this many times, I am a cynical old tart. I don't take what the mainstream media tell me, a bit like WTC7, when the BBC journalists going, oh, WTC7 has collapsed and you can see the fucking building in the background. I mean, the BBC's never going to live that down. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, it's just another buzz name. Because Alan says, mate at work rang up and said America was under attack. That was around 2 p.m. GMT on 9/11. I think it was early in the morning. It was 9 a.m. in America, and it went into So they were 5 hours behind. So it was about 1, 2 o'clock here. Band again says Alice in Wonderland was another psych op to fool the public, or a false flag as we know them now. Don Wigley, I think, stands for everyone. I might not agree with Charlie Kirk, but I hope he's okay. Me too, Don Wigley. Des Ashton says Manchurian candidates. They're all over the. I mean, if you look at Biden and Obama, they're all Manchurian candidates, including Keir Starmer. He's a fucking Manchurian candidate on behalf of WEF or the Fabian Society or the Chinese Communist Party. Stuart, yeah, it was 9 in the morning America time, but it was between 1 and 2 o'clock over here because they were 5 hours behind. They're 2 o'clock, 9 hours behind. Yeah, Andrew James says Bush loves to read upside down. Oh, I see you're still in the body of the Kirk. He didn't win, for fuck's sake. Second hit at 9:03 US time, so it had been just after 2 o'clock, Neil, our time, because they're 5 hours behind. So I downstairs, showered as quick as I could, get out, get in the radio station. But the thing that alerted me to, what's going on here then? It was when Bush appeared in the rubble, and there's blokes shouting, USA, USA, you. And I thought, hang on a second. They don't even. This was just a terrible tragedy. This was just a plane going into the towers. How do they know it's a terrorist attack? I know he's the president, Bush, standing there. We will fight them on the beaches. And USA, I didn't know who it was, but I know it was a setup. It was a crisis actor doing that, so that America's under attack. Everybody said America's under attack because there were, was it 4 or 5? There were 5 planes. I'm absolutely positive there was 5 planes. Tower 1, Tower 2, Pentagon, and Pennsylvania. But where did the 5th go? They never ever told us. Where did the 5th go? And remember, the controller was saying, is this exercise or is this real world? Because there was loads of exercises going on that day with the American military. So there was something going on. And as I've said many times, so I'm watching all of the news feeds. And I see a reporter step to George W. Bush and say, Mr. President, what about? And George W. Bush, and I've repeated this often enough for you to remember, the shooting down of that plane in Pennsylvania is the most difficult decision I've had to take as president. And yet the narrative that's come out from main organizations is, it crashed because, the very brave passengers fought with the terrorists. And yet George W. Bush, I saw it with my own eyes. And it was only, I've also told you this story, it was only when I was in a relationship with a news editor in Scotland. And I told her this story. She just said, you and your conspiracy theories. I'm like, right, okay. I saw it with my own eyes. I know what I saw. I'm just telling you what I saw. And the BBC did a kind of docudrama around 9/11. This must have been, where was I then? 2004, 2005. I was at Talk 107 in Edinburgh, a speech station. And within the docudrama, they said that Bush was up in Air Force One, and Dick Cheney was in the Situation Room with other luminaries, and he said, "So has the president give the go-ahead to shoot that plane down?" And this news editor was sitting next to me, and she went, "Oh my God." I said, "What?" She said, "You were right." About what? They've just said in this BBC docudrama, Dick Cheney has said, has the president give the shooting order, the shooting down of that plane over Pennsylvania? And the answer within the docudrama was, he gave the order. Yes. Shoot it down. But, so how did the BBC find out about that? They must have been watching the same newsfeed, or the researchers on that particular event must have known about that. So that's in common knowledge. That's in media. That's out there. So I'm not the only individual on planet Earth that must have seen that question put by the journalist to George W. Bush and have seen George W. Bush's reaction. The shooting down of that plane over Pennsylvania is the most difficult decision I've had to take as president. That's not the narrative that they told you. So you see, it's the golden hour. If anything, 7/7, 9/11, if it's a false flag, you only get 60 minutes. And in that 60 minutes, if it's a Black Swan event, in the first 60 minutes, that's when the truth is flying about. And then after 60 minutes, they've got such a tight hold on information that's coming out that you will never get the truth. So you have to be on the money straight away, soaking in all of the information that's coming out in the first 60 seconds. After that, you will just get what the government wants you to see. It really is that simple. And I was very lucky then, very, very lucky that I had access to all the news channels and all the news feeds from around the world. Paulie Galtieri says, I heard Dick Cheney saying that too. And Dick Cheney must have been cock-a-hoop because Halliburton, his company, went in and built Iraq, went in and built all the Middle Eastern countries. Halliburton had lots of fingers in lots of different pies. I mean, everybody talks about BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and JP Morgan at the moment, but Halliburton, they were well ahead of the curve. Where was the so-called target for that plane? Ooh, Alan. Good question. It's a rabbit hole you can go down if you wish, but there's something called Global Hawk. Now, in 2001, Global Hawk it had been used in the 90s. So basically, Global Hawk is a pilotless flight. It's like Captain Scarlet, the Mysterons. There's nobody on the plane. So Global Hawk was fly-by-wire, I think is the technical term. Somebody could sit in an aerodrome and fly that plane without physically being on the plane. The technology was called Global Hawk. What are you saying, David? I have just seen a clip of the event where the students screaming and running away from the scene. That's the Charlie Kirk incident. I just hope that he's okay. I mean, well, I'll wait and see until, because you've got my eyes while I do this. Global Hawk is the name of the surveillance and attack drone. The technology's name isn't that. Well, that's what I was told early doors, Terry. But, okay, drone. Back in the day, it was pilotless flight. It was, and they said the reason why Global Hawk wasn't kind of rolled out across a load of planes is because, can you imagine passengers getting on a plane and there's no pilot up front? I worked for a UK company doing NATO contracts, and Halliburton owned this company as USA controls NATO. They do, Derek. But that's why Trump has gone to NATO. We're not going to give you any more money. Stuff you. So that's why they're all posturing. Russia, Ukraine, America, GB. I mean, we someone that I respect a lot sent me an email earlier saying that there was an RAF flight out near somewhere, which I can't name for the moment, and said, why would they be out there refueling our jets when they're saying it was the Russians? I've told you, I'm a cynical old tart. All conspiracy aside, thousands of people died that day. Alan, it was nearly 3,000. 2,800? Like sacrificial lambs, I completely agree. First time towers were ever powered down was the weekend before the attack. Oh, I know, they were planting the bloody bombs, man. And I think this never came out, but wasn't there some kind of connection to George W. Bush with a security firm that went in when it was powered down the weekend before? So obviously they could plant the whatever explosives they actually used. PTA, pilotless target aircraft, a drone by any other name. It's what we know them as nowadays, but back in 2001 or 2 or 3, this was technology that we out in the wild, men in black, says Alan. Paulie Galtieri says, yeah, lucky Larry didn't want to pay the $500 million to clear out the asbestos. And that's why the fire department, the firemen, they all started coming down with cancers. Whether that was attributable to the asbestos in the 2 towers, I don't know. But it was rather bizarre that the fire crews attending on 9/11, a lot of them years down the line started to die from cancers that could have been attributed to the asbestos. So I think there was a security company that went in and did things. I'll just say security company in the loosest of terms, that could be linked to George W. Bush. I'm sure it was a relative. Lovely story about Hippodrome and DMC, as an aside, Reverend. Went to every One World Mixing Championships, did a bit of a fill-in DJ for Pete Tyler, the producer, around 87, 88. I could talk to you for hours, Adrian. Oh, I'm sure, Andy, I'd love to. I would love to hear your stories. Shame it's not phoning. Oh, the Dust Lady. That was it was a great photograph. It obviously very famous, and it was. I'm sure people, you and I, watching the coverage from New York, said it just looked like a movie. It just didn't seem real, and it didn't on 9/11, and now they've got. I was planning on going to New York just to stand in the sort of nest of WTC buildings, just to kind of be there, because I was on the other end of it, broadcasting in this country. And I've said to you before, the bosses at the radio station, they said, look, we might not put you on air tonight. And I was like, you're joking me. Why? Well, not quite sure what you're going to say. Didn't his brother, Jeb Bush, have something to do with security, says Nikki. I think so. I'm not wanting to kind of give you something and then find actually it's not true. I'd rather do my research. And then, Nikki, I am sure that you are correct. Jeb Bush possibly did have something to do with security. Laird Wookfit says, might be because of the sheer scale of death and destruction that it didn't seem real, as opposed to the film being falsified. Oh yes, Johnny Ray and the Carlisle Group. Was it the Carlisle Group that Jeb Bush? They were all in it. They all had fingers in different pies. And I mean, if you want to, Condoleezza Rice, who was also in the Situation Room with Dick Cheney, she actually had an oil tanker named after her. And it was at that point people went, oh, hang on a second. So she's connected to the oil industry. And in 9/11, what did that facilitate? Yeah, the oil industry getting very wealthy from Middle Eastern oil. And it was a black swan event before we knew what a black swan event was. I mean, now we are so more sophisticated in our knowledge, 24 years later, that initially all the conspiracy theorists, you know, you had the CIA and the FBI and all the American security agencies going, bloody conspiracy theorists, they're always wrong. Conspiracy theorists are always nutters. Don't believe a word they say. 24 years down the line, everybody goes, well, the conspiracy theorists were right then. And the CIA and the FBI were wrong then. But it's that repetition that is promulgated through the mainstream media, and people go, well, no, there's the answer. 24 years later, you believe that terrorists flew those planes into the 2 towers? If you believe that, you haven't done your homework. I don't believe that camel shaggers flew there. I mean, they couldn't even fly planes. And from professional pilots, because when I went on air that night, professional pilots were calling in saying, well, I've got my doubts about this and I've got my doubts about that, and I don't think that this worked. And they said, look, the transponder, if a plane is hijacked, they just put a 3-number code into the transponder to tell control that the plane's been hijacked. And yet, like Pennsylvania, they found no plane wreckage, they found no bodies, they found a bit like Lockerbie. A friend of mine was one of the first cops on site for Lockerbie, and he said there was just body parts everywhere. And in a case like that, the police and the emergency services just need to trace as much of that as possible for dignity of the dead, so that they could say to the family, we've got this, and we've been able to identify. So, 4 numbers now. 7. Oh, okay. Interesting. But I was told by a professional pilot, and the other things that we said in the conversation corroborated that he was a professional commercial pilot. It wasn't necessarily military. One of the Sky presenters thought they were watching a replay of the first plane crashing into the building, but it was the second plane going in live. Wow. Tulsi TV reports Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck. Yeah, we said that. He's seen the footage, but it's too graphic for YouTube. Tulsi TV needs to watch this channel, because parishioners in the body of the Kirk said this minutes ago. Napoleon blown apart. Sorry to butt in, but I just read that Harry and Charlie met today. We also said that. Pay attention. Yes, we reported that Harry was seen going into Clarence House. Charles was seen going into Clarence House. Buckingham Palace have confirmed that they met for afternoon tea. And you're not in the will, Harry. Wookfit says it was nothing to do with dignity. They mark and record everything in air incidents so that that spread can be used to determine explosion centres. Amazing the information they can get. I agree. But just for mainstream media, they talk about dignity for the dead. So, as I say, no plane parts, no black box. Pennsylvania, no black box, no people, no baggage, no nothing. Just a hole in the ground. And then we get to the Pentagon. They said, oh, it was a plane. It just happened to hit the offices where the $2.3 trillion that had gone missing, that was announced the night before, where all the paperwork was. So that no paperwork, no evidence, nobody knows where it went. Brilliant, Neil Cunningham. As we're up with breaking news, I just heard the Titanic has hit an iceberg. Brilliant. I wonder if Harry took some of Meghan's jam with him. Ray Norton. Oh, no. Do you want to see me wife's jam? No, darling. No, dear boy. Oh, wow. Banned again. It's Harry Hewitt. That's his real name. Good old ginger chip off the block. But that's, I've said to you before, that's why Charles doesn't call him son. So 9/11, 24th anniversary tomorrow. We just kind of give it some, an acknowledgement, I think, because it's such a massive subject, and there's so many anomalies that we literally could go on for hours and hours and hours. I did promise that I wanted to do something around the Fabian Society. I want to offer this. This is my research and this is my notes. And what I know, what I didn't know, and some of the core ideologies, some of what it means. So if you're... Clive Quinn, iceberg, Goldberg, you know who's behind it. Absolutely. Starmer is still busy rearranging the Titanic deck chairs. Not for long. So the Fabian Society, you're now, if you don't already know, you're now hearing about it. It's on people's radars after the Epping Forest hotel event. The judge that oversaw that is a Fabian Society member, seemingly. But it's a British socialist organisation. It was founded in 1884, and it's known for advocating gradual reformist socialism rather than revolutionary change. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of Janet and John you through this, because there will be people in the body of the Kirk that don't know about the Fabian Society. So I'm just making sure that the base level knowledge within the body of the Kirk is we're all together. We know it. So that's why I'm talking this way. But as I go on, I will get into the deeper, more nefarious opinions and observations about the Fabian Society. So I'm going to give you an overview of the Fabian Society, talking about aspects based on their historical and contemporary significance, influence, but more importantly, public perception. And this is all based on my understanding of their role, their activities, and impact. So the Fabian Society, the core ideology, this is what seemingly they're all about. And in two words, it's simply gradualist socialism. So I would name it sort of mission creep. So they want to do something. They've been around longer than the Labour Party, because it was Fabians that organised the Labour Party in the very beginning 100 years ago. So gradualist socialism, it's Blair in 97 and then Starmer in 2025 doing the same work that Blair started in 1997. So we're 28 years down the line, this gradualist socialism, mission creep by any other word, is what the Fabian Society promotes as socialism through gradual democratic reforms within existing political systems. They hang on a second, I just need a... What the Fabian Society don't do, and they are against, is violent revolution. They reject that completely. And it's named after the Roman general Fabius Maximus, known for his cautious tactics. The society emphasizes patience and incremental progress. So you kind of get what they're all about. And what they advocate is for policies like nationalisation, welfare state expansion. So when the Labour government gets in, Blair in 97, under Brown, and now Starmer, they just expand the state, the civil servants, and it's all about a big, wieldly state, the welfare state, not kind of, getting free money and free housing and free food and free accommodation if you're an illegal immigrant. They believe in social equity, but, some men are more equal than others, men and women. That's how they try to, with social equity, that's how they try and influence modern social democracy. So why does that matter? This core philosophy has shaped their long-term impact on British politics, distinguishing them, the Fabian Society, from more radical socialist groups. Wonder if Jeremy Corbyn's a Fabian. He might be too far left. Yeah, I mean, he's so far left of Marxist and Lenin and Trotsky that he's on his own. Maybe he's not a Fabian. But as I say, this core philosophy distinguishes them from more radical socialist groups, and their approach appeals to pragmatists and has influenced mainstream policy as we see today. But it has an historical influence on the Labour Party. The Fabian Society played a pivotal role in founding the UK Labour Party in 1900, providing intellectual and organisational support. Early Fabians, like Sidney and Beatrice Webb, drafted key Labour policies. Now, if you're a Labourite or you have any knowledge of Labour history, you will understand who Sidney and Beatrice Webb were. Nowadays, don't care. They kind of, Sidney and Beatrice, very early 1900s name or late Victorian era. They remain affiliated with the Labour Party and the Fabian Society, contributing research and policy ideas, though they are independent and not controlled by it. So the Fabian is a think tank. The Fabian Society is kind of a think tank. And I'm going to explain what they do with their policies and papers and influence. So why this control? Thank you, Neil. Really appreciate your support, sir. Thank you, Neil. Why this matters, and I'll be using that phrase a lot whilst I'm informing you and educating you and hopefully giving you an insight into the evil of the Fabians. So the Fabian Society's influence on Labour's formation and policies, as in the welfare state and or the NHS, makes the Fabian Society a cornerstone of British left-wing politics. Now, some of the key figures within the Fabian Society, and this is when it gets naughty. So I've already mentioned prominent early members, Sidney and Beatrice Webb. I've already mentioned a little earlier, George Bernard Shaw and H.G. Wells, the writers and playwrights. But also Annie Besant, B-E-S-A-N-T, Annie Besant. You can do your homework. It's an amazing rabbit hole. But Annie Besant was a theosopher. And her theosophy is embedded within the Fabian Society from its early days. Annie Besant was an occultist. And she was a fan of Madame Blavatsky. Blavatsky. B-L-A-V-A-T-S-K-Y. Blavatsky. Tony Blair and Gordon Brown were also associated with the Fabian Society, but it's Annie Besant that gives you a clue as to what is at the core of the Fabian Society. They talk about wolf in sheep's clothing. They're trying to get away from that. But Annie Besant, there were theosophists embedded within the Fabian Society from its very early days. Now, the intellectual output shaped socialist thought and institutions, with the London School of Economics remaining a global academic powerhouse. Now, the Webbs, Sidney and Beatrice, they co-authored an influential work called The History of Trade Unionism. Oh, I bet that's a wonderful nighttime read. And they founded the London School of Economics. So you've got all these students going to the LSE, London School of Economics, and it was Sidney and Beatrice that founded it in 1895, if my memory serves me correct. It was to advance social research. So let's kind of get into policy and research. So the Fabian Society runs think tanks, and we hear this all the time in the mainstream media about, this conservative think tank or this Labour think tank. They're just they're at it. They're not think tanks. They basically try to promote and promulgate their ideology or theosophy, if you will. So the Fabian Society run think tanks, publishes reports, hosts seminars to influence policy on issues like economic inequality, a bit like Starmer saying, right, so what we've got all these early morning clubs at schools where children can have breakfast. That, in essence, is the Fabian Society's economic inequality and public service, you could add to that. And do you know what else the Fabian Society promotes? Dealing with climate change. Fan my brow. Have a guess who's a Fabian? Ed Millipede. Well, he's bound to, isn't he? Them promoting think tanks, publishing reports, and dealing with climate change. So now you get where it's coming from. The Fabian Society, World Economic Forum, United Nations, World Health Organization. The Fabians are ball deep in all of this. So some of the Fabian Society's recent work includes advocating for universal basic income. We've heard that. Green policies. Oh my God, we're back to Millipede again. And public ownership of utilities. So there's the water companies who absolutely do not care whether we get water or not, so long as their shareholders get their dibble, and the water companies can go billions in debt. Oh, don't worry, the government will pay it. And we haven't got energy companies that belong to us in this country. They've all been flogged off to the French and other European countries. And why, what I've told you about their policy advocacy, why does that matter? Well, their research informs Labour Party manifestos. You know that piece of paper that I wouldn't wipe my backside with? Because they just lie. They just tell you, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and £300 here, and yeah, your energy bills are going to come down. Have they bollocks? So the Fabian Society's research informs government policies, especially when Labour is in power, as in currently. So the membership and structure of the Fabian Society, the number that I keep seeing popping up is 6,000 members as of recent estimates. But I have heard some people, somebody on LBC a few weeks ago, were talking about the Fabians and said, oh, you've got between 8 and 10,000. Now, we won't really, truly know how many members they have, but these members include politicians, academics, and activists. I think there are dames, actresses. We know that Blair Brown, Mayor Carnage, he's a Fabian. You've got Ed Balls, you've got Ed Millipede, you've got... And I will name them after I've sort of given you this insight. I am going to name the politicians that are Fabian Society members. Blair and Brown being two of the more famous, but it seems that every Labour Party Prime Minister is a Fabian. Starmer is a Fabian. So when he's sitting there being asked questions, he's got to roll through what the Fabian Society want, what WEF want, what he wants, anything but what the great British public want. And here's the kicker. Membership is open to anyone aligning with the Fabian Society values. So there are organisations that say, oh, just come and be a member. We're not hiding anything, just come and be a member. But here's what I didn't know. That the Fabian Society operates through local branches in this country. There are over 60 local branches, 60, in the UK. There are international networks with a democratic structure where members elect leaders. Right on, brother. And why this matters? Because their membership base sustains their influence, though it's smaller than mass movements, limiting seemingly their direct political power. But if you've got Fabian Societies members who are prime ministers and deputy prime ministers, because Ginger Growler was in the Fabians, or she probably still is. So if you want to know about what they have, and I've said to you before, like Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum, how do you get the message to so many people around the world so that you could have influence? Justin Trudeau in Canada, Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand and Australia and the UK. You just publish papers and research. And the Fabian Society has the Fabian Review. It's a quarterly magazine, so every 3 months, and they have pamphlets on policy issues. They also engage through events, podcasts, and social media. But I have to ask you, where do they get their money from? I'll just leave that with you, because it's always good to follow the money. And the Fabian Society's media presence sort of amplifies their ideas, but it's less prominent than larger think tanks like the Institute for Public Policy Research, or as David Icke has talked about, the policy for the New American Century. And these publications keep their ideas in public discourse. So me and you might be namby-pamby pinko liberals or left-wing activists, as my father was once. And he would have known. I don't even know whether he was a member of the Fabian Society, but he would have had their publications and would have had conversations with other Fabian members, because he was so far fucking left. Even the communists go, we're not going over there. That's too left for us. My father, not anybody else. But I would suggest that the Fabian Society's reach into the general public is quite niche compared to other mainstream media. But there is international influence and Fabianism, as it's called, abroad, outside of this sceptred isle. Now, Fabian ideas, and this is important, because without this research and knowing this, I actually hit the nail on the head, and have done for the last 3 years. I've told you to be aware of Canada and Australia and New Zealand, and now, with Starmer at the helm, the United Kingdom. Because Fabianism has, I would believe, in my view, has influenced the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum controls Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So Fabian ideas have influenced social democratic movements globally, if you want to call them that. As I say, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, where similar gradualist approaches have taken root. And we've only worked this out, as Alan says, yes, propaganda pamphlets. That's what they do. I mean, Scientology. So in Sunderland on the High Street, I was walking down there with one of my pals a few years ago, and these people just jumped out from nowhere. And I was like, what? Oh, do you want to come inside? We're just going to do a test. Well, do you want to take a test? I was like, I don't need to take a test. And my mate was like, oh, come on, it'll be a bit of a laugh. It was the Scientologists. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that while we were in there distracting them, we were nicking all their books. But the Fabian Society, that's just a little aside, it's got nothing to do with Fabianism. But the Fabian Society has international groups, but its primary focus is the United Kingdom. And then, obviously, somewhere down the line, they're into Canada and Australia and New Zealand and the World Economic Forum. So I would also sort of suggest that Communist China, CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party, rather, meet the Fabian Society at WEF. Because WEF and Klaus Schwab up until now has just propagandized what the Fabian Society want. And I've told you, you know who's on the board of the World Economic Forum now, don't you? The Fabian Society's Tony Blair. They're bedfellows. So why all of this matters, the influence, the propaganda, the international groups, is their global reach, the Fabian Society's global reach, is notable but secondary to their UK-centric work, as their influence abroad is mostly historical. They always say that. Do they look backwards or forwards? And the Chinese Communist Party, bedfellows with the Fabian Society. That was Ninja. I'm not going to tell you what it was. It's a mudra. Now, there have been some criticism, you don't say, no shit, Sherlock, and controversies that surround the Fabian Society. There are critics of the Fabian Society, especially on the right. They accuse the society of covertly pushing radical socialism or globalist agendas. We're back to the World Economic Forum again, often citing their gradualist approach as deceptive. I mean, people on social media frequently mention conspiracy theories, but I've just laid it out in front of you for you to digest. So the World Economic Forum and the Fabian Society are bedfellows. And it's propaganda. They propagandized. The Uberville says, the Fabians mentoring the London School of Economics goes much to explain the mindset of James O'Brien, for he studied at the LSE. It explains it all. Oh, I say. Apparently the shots that hit Charlie Kirk were from 200 yards away from the area. Saw the video and it's not nice. All right, David. Sandra, welcome to the Body of the Kirk. You'll have to catch it up on catch up, because there's some really interesting stuff we've talked about tonight. So the Fabian Society, the right, believe that their gradualist approach is deceptive, and people online cite conspiracy theories like alleged ties, the Fabian Society, tied to a one world government. Oh, I say, World Economic Forum, anyone? Or undue influence over the Labour Party and the Labour government. So why does that matter? Well, these criticisms shape public perception. So it's you and I. We look at this and we go, oh, faff. But some of the public's perception are often exaggerated or lack any evidence. But now that you see, thank you, Stuart, now that you see that the Fabian Society is literally up the derriere of the World Economic Forum and vice versa, because Tony Blair, a Fabian, and did the Fabian Society's work, is on the board of the World Economic Forum. He would not be allowed on the board of the World Economic Forum if his ideology did not align with WEF and the Fabian Society. So some of the stuff that the conspiracy theories, the one world government and influencing the Labour government, people talk about that online. But as I say, again, these criticisms shape our perception of the Fabian Society, which everyone, I think we've had our head turned in the last few weeks. So it's now on our radar, and people are saying, so what exactly is the Fabian Society? Where can we get more information? And propaganda, and Tony Blair, and Gordon Brown? Vile man. Gordon Brown. Vile man. And I won't go into detail. Vile man. But the exaggeration online and lack of evidence means that the conspiracy theorists are just shot down. And the moderates within the Fabian Society can actually alienate the extremes, both extremes, right and left, if you want to use that political analogy. So the symbolism and public perception of the Fabian Society, look at their logo, the wolf in sheep's clothing. That just fuels conspiracy theories. But it does reflect their gradualist strategy, but not, I would suggest, deceit. The society is often misunderstood as a secretive elite group. See where I was going with this? I said to you, Blair, on the board of the World Economic Forum, Fabian Society luminary. But they say, no, we're open and transparent about what we want. Really? How many times have you heard of the Fabian Society? How many times has Mayor Carnage, the London mayor, told you he was a Fabian? How many times has Tony Blair said, oh yeah, but more importantly, how many times has Sir Keir Starmer come out and said, yeah, I'm a Fabian Society member and I align with all of their goals? So the misconceptions that are out there on social media actually affect the Fabian Society's reputation, if I may be so bold. But their actual influence is more, I think pragmatic is a good word, and less conspiratorial than critics claim. So now what they're saying, yeah, all right, wolf in sheep's clothing, but we're cuddly, really. We're just cuddly, we wear cuddly jumpers, and we're like Jeremy Corbyn, Uncle Jeremy, multimillionaire Jeremy Corbyn, just like him. And Tony Blair, he just wants to go where the money is. So the current relevance of the Fabian Society, as of 2025, with Labour in power, the Fabian Society's ideas are relevant. They're influencing policies on housing. Angela Rayner, Fabian Society member, she was head of housing. Energy, Fabian Society member Ed Millipede. And social justice. The front bench of the Labour Party are all Fabian Society members. So, of course, they're going to influence the Labour government. But their influence is diluted by other people, other competing think tanks, and a polarised political climate where radical voices, Jeremy Corbyn and the Sultana, they often overshadow the moderate centrist policies. But the current role of the Fabian Society is significant, but I don't know whether this is true or not, but less dominant than they were in the early 20th century, simply because we have a Labour government and most of the Labour government are Fabian Society members. I am going to name them when I finish this. Because politics is different nowadays. We're not taking the usual propaganda bullshit from them, are we? From any politician. Doesn't matter whether it's left, right, up or down, in or out. No. Reform, Farage, any politician, they're all going to lie. They're all after the power so they can make shit tons of money. Now, the early Fabians supported controversial ideas like eugenics. Now, you know that Bill Gates and the Fabians support eugenics. And that's what's been going on in the last 5 years because of the World Economic Forum and wanting to kill off we, the breeders, we, the humans. And eugenics is common amongst the intellectuals of that particular era, from, the start of the Fabians and the early Labour Party. Oh, right on, brother, sister. Yeah, we're all for the working man and woman. Yeah, that we and shite, man. You just snout, trough, that's all you're in it for. None of them want to do anything for the greater good, which surprises me about the Fabian Society, because what they're trying to do is say, we're cuddly, we're doing it for the greater good. Harder way and shite, man. So they like eugenics, killing off the humans. They like imperialism. But both eugenics and imperialism, the Fabian... excuse me a second. I'm running out of my hibiscus. Eugenics and imperialism, the Fabian Society later distanced themselves from it. So these stances are often used by critics of the Fabian Society to attack their legacy, for want of a better term. Though I would suggest, because they've tried to do other cuddly stuff, they've wanted to make sure that people don't think that eugenics and imperialism are anywhere relevant to modern Fabianism. So these historical missteps are low priority today, but provide context for understanding the Fabian Society's evolution. Now, the most dangerous policies of the Fabian Society include their main policy, which is rooted in gradualist socialism, emphasizing reform over revolution. But critics are saying, no. But from the right or libertarian perspectives, they often label certain policies as dangerous from the Fabian Society due to their potential to expand state control. I'll give you digital ID. Have you seen what is coming? David, what is that? Sorry, I'll park that for a second. What's the latest on Charlie? Can't see it. I think, David, if Charlie Kirk does survive, he would need Secret Service type bodyguards in the distant future. Pray for Charlie. So what is the latest? What are the mainstream propagandists saying? Oh, shit. Albert Metcalf saying the next news network says he's dead. Right, okay, thank you, David. Charlie is still in the critical condition. I think, like Albert, if you sort of name the source that you're getting it from, because I wouldn't believe all of the mainstream news, but America is eating itself. And this almost, Alison says, critical but got a pulse. This plays into Trump's hands for putting the troops on the streets. Washington, D.C., and then was it Chicago? Guardian. US lawmakers unite to condemn Charlie Kirk's shooting, reject political violence. Oh, I'm sure they do. Charlie is fighting for his life, but hanging in there. I'll watch it when I finish this live. I like to see things with my own eyes and get a sense of things. But thank you to everybody who's keeping me updated. Thank you. The Fabian Society's policies, as I say, are rooted in gradualist socialism. It's reform over revolution. But they do have their critics. Now, back in Ed Balls, I want to also make a point that as well as their potential to expand state control, the Fabian Society, and this is very important that you understand this, they advocate increasing taxation or shift economic systems. So you know what's going on now with Rachel Reeves and Starmer and the Labour Party? Fabians increase taxation until you and I can take no more. Now, in 1992, there was a Fabian pamphlet by Ed Balls, husband of ITV presenter. Oh, wait till I find this out. Mind you, he'd probably get a pay rise for being woke. But Ed Balls, husband of Yvette Cooper. Now, he, in this Fabian pamphlet in 1992, advocated for the independence of the Bank of England, implemented by Labour in 1997. So this gave the Bank of England control over monetary policy, including interest rates, to stabilise the economy. And why was this considered dangerous? Well, critics argued that this reduced democratic oversight, transferring significant economic power to unelected technocrats. Remember I told you about technocracy a few weeks ago? And there's Mark Carney, who oversaw the Bank of England and its significant economic power. He's now president of Canada, bless him. And again, it fits in with their globalist agendas. It weakens, this is the Fabian Society, remember, it weakens national sovereignty, though some people, it doesn't have much evidence and is speculative. But we can see what's going on. We know the Fabians are in the Labour government, and we can see what's going on, the rise in taxation and what it's doing to us, weakening our national sovereignty. Illegal immigration, anyone? It's weakening our national sovereignty, including bloody Charles the Weak. So this particular policy stabilised inflation but sparked debate about accountability. Bank of England has no accountability because it's independent now. It is seen, this independence of the Bank of England is seen as a hallmark of Fabian influence on Labour's economic strategy. And that strategy is credited with modernising Britain's financial system. Fabian Society and their national insurance increase for NHS funding. This was a Fabian policy. The 2000 Tax Commission, it's a Fabian policy. So the Fabian Society 2000 Tax Commission proposed a hypothecated NHS tax to fund the healthcare. Can you remember during the Blair and Brown government, where they said, right, we're going to, it's an NHS tax. All the money that we tax you goes straight to fund healthcare. And then all the evil within the NHS started to extract money. And there was Blair. He was doing the Public Financing Initiative, PFI. Looks like that was Fabian. So they had this 2000 Tax Commission to fund healthcare, influencing Labour's 2001 national insurance rise to raise $8 billion for the NHS, remember? But what they do, the elite, what they do is they say, well, this is for a national insurance rise to raise money for the NHS. And then they never drop it again. So they raised $8 billion for the NHS, and where has the rest of that money gone? So critics argue that this increased tax burdens on individuals and businesses, potentially stifling economic growth. And you'll see when Rachel from Accounts does her, when she stands up in the Houses of Parliament, and she goes, right, we're going to tax you, and we're going to tax you, and we're going to tax you. It's creeping socialism. As I say, mission creep. So the policy strengthened the NHS seemingly by about £8 billion. Again, the NHS is a cornerstone of British welfare. People from around the world look on in envy at us. But I will say to you, not just the Fabian Society, but beware the man or the party that's going to dismantle the NHS and sell it off so that you can have emergency treatment at the point that it's needed, but you will need your insurance policy like the American system. That's what they want here. And it doesn't matter. They'll take 10, 20, 30 years to get there, and they'll just say, we can't keep giving money to the NHS. Well, stop the fucking doctors raping the NHS for fucking money. Or they study for 8 years. They're raping the NHS for private work and building their own hospitals. What the actual? Whilst we've pumped billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of pounds into the NHS for this quackery to thieve our NHS from us. That could be said that it's a Labour, Fabian Society, Labour government, tax and spend governance. It's seen as sort of a practical reform, though people have said it's just expanding state intervention. If you look at council tax, that goes to the government and then is handed out. Doesn't go straight to the locals. It goes, all of the stuff goes straight to central government. Are you aware of the 2023 National Care Service proposal? Now, this is the Fabian Society's plans for power in 2023. And I've already told you stories about being on air in the northeast of England, where there was a vote to create a regional assembly in the northeast of England. This must be 2004, 20 odd years ago. They wanted to create a regional assembly. And the people in the northeast were like, nah, you can foxtrot Oscar, mate. We're not having that. How do we and shite? But this is the Fabian Society's plans for power. Now listen to this, because it's really, really important, because this is coming in this Parliament's term, the Fabian Society's government. So what they've proposed is a national care service for England. It involves partnerships between government, councils and providers to offer universal care with fair funding and standardised conditions for care workers. That's coming in. They're already talking about this, care workers. There's on my head, Sir Ed Davey. Maybe another live, we'll talk about the 275 grand he was paid. All about the post office scandal. He doesn't talk about the money, does he? Obviously. So some people say that this could lead to centralised control of social care, increasing costs and bureaucracy. Some people say, well, it's a step towards nationalisation, potentially discouraging private sector innovation, though evidence for this, I would suggest, is quite thin. So the proposal aims to address care sector inequalities, but it does face challenges, funding, implementation, and what it does do is it reflects the Fabian Society's gradualism and is less immediate than past policies. So once we have that, we're going to get into the economic devolution and regional policy. This is the really scary bit, because Hitler would be proud of the Fabian Society. Don't talk about politics, left or right, don't be stupid. Hitler wanted the whole of Europe to be governed regionally, and Tony Blair is doing Hitler's work. Bless him. So the Fabian Society advocate devolving powers to the English regions. as in the Assembly in the northeast of England, where the people from Newcastle and Sunderland and Teesside all told the government to foxtrot Oscar. It's a bit like the Greater Manchester Assembly, with policies like bus franchising, local revenue raising to address regional inequality. At least the kids get a breakfast. So why is this considered dangerous? Well, people are saying, particularly centrists on the political spectrum, they argue that this fragments national governance, risking inconsistent standards or postcode lotteries, to use the current vernacular. Now, some people exaggerate it as undermining national unity, but we're allowing the illegals in and they're going to get votes. And they're going to be voting for the same things that you and I want for ourselves, family, and community. But what the Fabian Society and their gradualism aim to reduce regional disparities. But there are logistical hurdles, especially when the Assembly had the building, had it all set up ahead of what they thought the left-wing northeast. That's why they went straight into the northeast for the vote, because the northeast is so left-wing, there's no such thing as right-wing thuggery. It's just in the imagination of politicians in London who wouldn't know left-wing policies in the northeast of England if it stood up and bit their bollocks off. So we could be looking at something that would fragment national governance. They're saying they want to reduce regional disparities. Not all regional assemblies will be equal. Same as bloody communism. Communism, all men are equal, except the reality is some men are more equal than others. Look at President Xi Jinping. But this policy would be divisive because of the governance implications. So we either have these morons in London governing us, but then we would have a regional assembly to govern us. I mean, pick a lane. So the early Fabians in the sort of 1880s to 1930s advocated state control of industries, transport, and more importantly, banks. And they influenced the policies in the Labour governments. And some, I would suggest, post-colonial states, as in the Ba'athist regimes in Iraq and Syria. So we know who went into Iraq and Syria. Halliburton, the Americans. They're always good for a few Benjamins. So some of the high-profile members of the Fabian Society, you ready for this? Yes, Sir Keir Starmer. He's Prime Minister, Labour Party leader, and former Fabian Society executive member. Now, as a serving Fabian executive member, when elected Labour leader in 2020, Starmer, he's the most prominent current member. His leadership, if you reflect on what's happened over the last year, reflects Fabian gradualism, focusing on pragmatic reforms like NHS funding and green energy. Millipede, you tart. Tony Blair. He was Prime Minister 1997 to 2007. Fabian member, an advocate of the third way. Let me tell you, you thought I was joking when I said they're doing Hitler's work. Third way in English. What is it in German? The Third Reich. Balancing socialism with free markets. Tony Blair. Hitler would have been proud. Charles Linton, Bow Street Magistrates. If you're new to the channel, Google it. Now, Blair's government implemented Fabian-influenced policies like Bank of England independence, Gordon Brown selling off our gold at the bottom of the market, idiot. NHS funding increases, PFI, Private Financial Initiative. And his global influence, yo, Blair, amplified Fabian ideas. Gordon Brown, former UK Prime Minister for 3 years until we got rid of him, Chancellor of the Exchequer for 10 years, he was a Fabian member. Worked closely with Ed Got No Balls on Bank of England independence, NHS funding, embodying Fabian technocratic reformism. Ed Balls, husband of Yvette Cooper. Pillow talk, anyone? He was a Labour MP, Shadow Chancellor, and author of the 1992 Fabian pamphlet on, or propaganda if you wish, on Bank of England independence. Now his propaganda shaped a landmark policy. I find it very difficult talking about people that I think are utter wankers. Ed Balls being one of them. We won't go into the I've already mentioned Sydney and Beatrice Webb, founder of the LSE, Fabian Society. They were key socialist intellectuals. Now, their writing and institutional work laid the foundation for Fabianism and Labour's welfare state policies. It's still relevant now, 2025, over 100 years. George Bernard Shaw was a playwright, socialist thinker, an early Fabian leader. So his Fabian essays in socialism in 1889, it shaped early socialist theory, as I said. Theosophy. And his, George Bernard Shaw as the playwright and writer and thinker, his cultural influence amplified Fabian ideas, though he's not really relevant nowadays. Theo Bovril says the third way was conceived by Germany in 1843. In 1850, a German economist came up with the name EEC, European Economics Community. Thank you, Theo Bovril. You've just validated what I was saying. Tony Blair doing Hitler's work. Wonderful. So, are you aware that Wes Streeting, the current health secretary, or I don't know where he was moved a couple of days ago, but Wes Streeting is a Fabian Society member. Let me give you some names. But I've already told you about Annie Besant. That's one of the most important names in the old pantheon of the Fabian Society, because they don't want anybody to think that they're devil worshippers. That's what a cult means, just hidden. Annie Besant, Madame Blavatsky. It's a really dark place, really dark rabbit hole, in my view. The early members of the Fabian Society were predominantly middle-class intellectuals. Ere I say, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Ed Millipede, we're just intellectuals. But they were accused of harbouring racist views, anti-Semitism towards Jews, black and Asian people, as well as having a disdain for the working class. It's 2025. That's writ large. Anti-Semitism is chocked full in the Labour Party because they're all fucking Fabians. And the early Fabians were accused of harbouring racist views towards Jews, black and Asian people, as well as a disdain for me and you, the working class, the working people. Annie Besant and others supported British imperialism. Annie Besant said it was a civilising mission. But other people criticised them and said, oh, they were just a clique of bourgeois socialists, champagne sippers. Anyone? So I'm going to give you some names. I'm going to leave that there. But I want to give you the pop shot, the money shot. We haven't even got round to Mandy Mandelson yet. So, Fabian Society members, are you sitting comfortably? Keir Starmer, David Lammy, Wes Streeting, Rachel Reeves, Bridget Phillipson, Howie Pitt, I'm using my northeastern accent. Oh, just fuck off. Lucy Powell, Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner, Sadiq Khan, Steve Race MP, Michael Shanks MP, Energy Minister, Sarah Jones, another Energy Minister, Jonathan Reynolds, Business Secretary. Does that not take your breath away? Keir Starmer, David Lammy, Wes Streeting, Rachel Reeves, Bridget Phillipson, Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner, Sadiq Khan. Does that not scare you? Propaganda and agenda. I mean, we have a Manchester Council leader, Bev Craig. We have numerous Scottish Labour leader, Anna Sarwar. We have other MSPs in Scotland. We have the Mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Nick Johnson. He's also a Fabian Society member. We have Lord Harmer, the Attorney General, appointed by Sir Keir Starmer, Fabian Society member. We have Lord Justice David Bean, Court of Appeal judge, Fabian Society member. We have KC's, Solicitor General Sarah Sackman, non-governmental organisations, advisors, academia. It just goes on, and journalists, the media. There are journalists. Lewis Goodall. This is the guy that suggested 100% inheritance tax. Nice people. So journalists are part of the Fabian Society. So you see the propaganda, it's put out there by journalists on the side of the Fabian Society. Now you've got, I've told you, George Bernard Shaw, H.G. Wells. It's seen as, in the early days, the society has been accused of viewing the working class as needing guidance from enlightened elites. That was the early days of the Fabian Society, and in 2025, it still holds true. Those morons and the Ozempic Palace, they look down their nose at us, that we need guidance from enlightened elites. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, Foxtrot Oscar, they think we're thick. Told you about eugenics, told you about the wolf in sheep's clothing. And it's gradual, so they will promote state dependency and having nothing, and you'll be happy. Fabian Society and the World Economic Forum are bedfellows. You will have nothing and be happy. So it looks like Fabianism is aiming for a collectivist society. Now, I am going to put something else on your radar, because I believe that the Fabian Society is just a front. Have you heard of the Frankfurt School? If you want me to do a deep dive, because I believe that's where it comes from. There's the Kalergi Plan and the Frankfurt School, where policies like welfare expansion, progressive taxation, and net zero environmental rules are seen as tools to impoverish me and you and centralise power. And that's where I'm going to leave it for you. So the Fabian Society, I believe, is just a front, a wolf in sheep's clothing. But actually, the broader narratives include the Kalergi Plan and the Frankfurt School. And as I have said to you, these influences, where policies like welfare expansion, progressive taxation, and net zero environmental rules, Ed Millipede, anybody? They're seen as tools to impoverish you and I. You'll own Gaul and you'll be happy. And they want to centralise power into Europe. So Europe, World Economic Forum, British government, Canadian government, Australian government, and Jacinda Ardern and the New Zealand government, they're all working nicely to their plan, the Fabian Society. Creeping Marxism or communism, if you want. But these names, front bench names, and I did have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to leave it there. I'll take some of your comments, I think. Stephen Hall says, I've heard of the Frankfurt School. Alan said, had a great Frankfurter off Melton Market yesterday. I hope you had onions and tomato ketchup, Alan. Terry Wookfit, wouldn't be the first time he was wrong, would it? What? Right, Terry's saying that Coke appears to be still alive. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. Oh, redacted just confirmed he has died. Info from the hospital, according to Nikki Watson. Wow. As I say, first 60 minutes, the golden hour. That's when you get some semblance of truth. But after 60 minutes, the government, the state, close it all down. You won't find out the truth. I do pray for Charlie. Yeah, redacted have been wrong in the past, but thank you to everyone who's been in the body of the Kirk this evening. I know that the Fabian Society is a little heavy, and the reason why I did it tonight is because it's good to have the information. So you can watch these moronic people, the MPs, in Ozempic Palace, and you can see what they're going to do. Because the Fabian Society have put it all out there. They want us to be impoverished. Dave Johnson says it's a horrible shooting. I'll go just seen the video of people describing what happened when the gunshots and when he was shot. Lionel Layton, why is my live chat stopped about 30 minutes ago? I've no idea, honestly, Lionel. Sometimes you need to refresh the page. I will say to you that the live last night hasn't gone up within my system, within YouTube Studio. It hasn't gone up because it's still seemingly uploading. So there is stuff going on. I don't believe there's anything nefarious going on. I just believe that that maybe YouTube are having some technical problems. And if you could smash the likes on your way out of the body of the Kirk, please, this evening, because it does help. Vixtex, thank you to you and everyone in the body of the Kirk. Angelic Inspiration said, not heavy. I love this stuff. Well, I do the deeper dives and I do the research for you so that you can get, because I'm in service. I know this is going to sound like tree hook and hippie shite, but I am in service of you. I know that there are critical thinkers here. I know that you just soak all of this up. And it's there as a historical document, so you can go and kind of fast forward to the Fabian stuff and listen to what I've said and all the research that I've done. And thank you to the anonymous emailer who sent me a list of Fabians, which I used this evening. And it's important we stay on this. It's critical to our families, our communities, and our homes. It's critical that we stay on top of this. And Tony Blair, evil. Evil, evil, evil. Not as evil as Gordon Brown, but still evil. So smash the likes if you could. I really would appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because I will be working in service of you for the future. And my name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for this evening. I hope it made any kind of sense to you. As I say, I tried to Janet and John you through it so that you got an understanding of some of the information that I gave you. And wherever you go, whatever you do, pray for Charlie Kirk. Be well, stay safe. This is not a show. This is a mission. The mission is to get to the truth. And we'll go again on Sunday. Lots happening. But remember, we will promo the David Icke interview. And thank you to Stu. And I'll see you Sunday, 7:15. Be well.